Okay, for chapter 17, what we are going to do is we are going to start with all the definitions. To refresh your memory, what you learn in Form 5, chapter, you are considered the old syllabus. So chapter 5, Form 5, chapter 5. You might remember Mendel 1 law, Mendel 2 law, ABO blood group inheritance, hemophilia inheritance. So all of that will come in this chapter. But before we can start to do this chapter, the basics. This chapter has a lot of definitions. We are going to use a lot of already. We are going to have a lot of we are going to use a lot of terms throughout this chapter. For example, if you see, we have okay, this is the first page. So there are some definitions you need to know. What is gamete? What is gene? What is allele? What is dominant and recessive allele? I think I have the new notes. 1 minute. 1 minute. This is the old notes. Let me take out the new notes. 1 minute. Okay, there's the new notes. The new notes will have certain words in bold, so that is easier for you to just read the. You might realize the semester 2 notes. I already have the new version. The notes will have certain words in bold that are the more important words. So I repeat, throughout this chapter, there is a lot of a lot of terms that you need to use. Gamete, gene, allele. In the next page, we have a dominant allele, recessive allele. We have homozygote, heterozygote, and then you have seen all of this in your Form 5, but I have to refresh your memory in terms of what is the meaning of all of this. Phenotype, genotype, filial generation, and also parental generation. So there's a lot of terms that you need to know. That is the first thing I'll do in this chapter. When we start this chapter, we define all the terms. We explain to you what is the meaning of all the terms. And not only for you to understand this chapter, it's a question on its own. We can ask you, explain about allele. They can give you 3 marks. Explain about dominant allele and recessive allele. They can give you 2 marks or 4 marks. The definitions are part of syllabus. You are supposed to know the definition of all the terms that we are going to explain now. So we're going to start the explanation. I'll have one explanation to cover all the terms. One explanation to cover everything that you have in the first 2 pages. So let's begin. So we first start with what is a characteristic. So the first thing we are going to learn is what is a characteristic. Characteristic. Okay, so first thing is what is a characteristic. So characteristic is basically something that you can observe in the organism. Generally, something that you can observe. For example, for me, my character, no, actually something you can observe, for example, type of hair, skin color. Skin color can be, or flower color can be observed. Type of seed, is it round seed or wrinkled seed? All of these that can be observed, we use the word characteristic, but characteristic doesn't only have to be something that you can observe. There is some things we can't observe. For example, if I ask you, what is my blood group? Looking at me, you can't tell what is my blood group. You can tell me I'm curly hair, for example, or certain skin color, or maybe attach or detach your lobe. You can see. But there are things that we can't see. For example, my blood group. So the blood group is something that can be detected. There is a simple card that we can use to identify what blood group I have. ABO blood group. So ABO blood group is not something that you can see or observe, but you can detect. But there are things also that you can't detect, you can't observe. Example, my height. You can't detect my height. You can't say I'm tall. You can't say I'm short. Both of that. I am tall, correct. I am short, correct. I am tall, wrong. I am short, wrong. Because you just looking at a person, you can't simply tell that person is tall or short. Cannot. So to make sure it's scientifically correct, you need to measure my height. Maybe I'm 1.75 meter, for example. So there are things that we need to observe. Flower color, skin color, type of hair, all of that we observe. There are things that we need to detect. Example, blood type. You can't observe the blood type. So you have to do a test to identify what is the blood type. There is also something that you need to measure. Example, height, length of the organism, or the number of cells in the organism, or the volume of the organism. You need to measure. So characteristic in general means something that can be observed or measured or detected. Observed, measured, or detected. Characteristics are something that can be observed, measured, or detected. Okay, or detected. So that is characteristic. Example of characteristic is type of, let's use something easy, flower color. So example of characteristic is flower color. So characteristic example is flower color. But let's say now the flower color got two types. There is red flower, there is also white flower. So I just use red for this. So now flower color is the characteristic. You can observe the flower color. Type of hair, you can observe. Blood type, type of blood group, you detect. Height of the organism, length of the organism, volume of the organism, you measure. So all of that is characteristic, but I'm going to use flower colors, easy. Now, flower color naturally, a certain flower naturally exists in two types. So the flower color ada dua jenis. One is it might be a purple, it might be a red flower. So flower color ada dua, maybe a red flower. So maybe it's red flower, or maybe it's normally is white, but if I use white, let's make it yellow lah. Yellow flower. So maybe there is red flower, maybe there is yellow flower. Yellow flower not clear, so I change it to some other color. Red done, okay lah, blue. Pink flower, that's nice. Okay, so we have red flower and we have pink flower. Now both of these, pink flower and red flower, they come under flower color characteristic. They come under the characteristic, but they are different, red flower and pink flower. So both of these, we call them as traits. So traits, here we have pink flower. So pink flower is a trait, red flower is a trait. Understand that both of these traits comes under the characteristic. Characteristic is the larger group. Characteristic is flower color. But the flower color characteristic got two traits. Red flower trait, white flower trait. Type of hair characteristic. Curly hair trait. Straight hair trait. ABO blood group type. ABO blood group type. characteristic. A blood group, B blood group, AB blood group, O blood group, all of them are traits. Any basic, this is basic. For the whole chapter, you must know what is characteristic, what is trait. This basic thing also many students are confused. They don't understand. Any basic, it's not like when you're driving a car, for example, the basic thing is you must know how to slot in the key, and maybe nowadays we have a button lah. Those are the, but still we need to slot in the key after, or maybe nowadays no need to slot in. Okay, you have the key inside the pocket. A bit more advanced one, you just, there's a red button there. You press the button, the car, switch on, starts. If you don't even know how to press the button, then you can't drive the car. This is the basics of the chapter. What is characteristic? What is trait? Characteristics are observable, detectable, measurable characteristic of the organism. Example is flower color. But we know flower color got a few types in one plant, one species. Maybe got purple flower, pink flower, red flower. These different flower colors comes under trait. Now this characteristic, them smaller a bit. Okay, now this characteristic is controlled by what? Characteristic is controlled by gene. Characteristic is controlled by gene. Gene controls the characteristic. The gene is supposed to be located in the DNA. Where the gene is located, how to read the gene, all we learn later in one of the chapter 17 later. But at the moment, every characteristic is controlled by a gene. Because it's controlled, this line, I need to make it into an arrow. So this is, so the gene controls the characteristic. So there is a gene that controls type of hair. There is a gene that controls ABO blood type. There is a gene that controls your skin color. There is a gene that controls the length of the snake. The characteristic is controlled by a gene. What about the traits? The traits are controlled by what we call as allele. Traits are controlled by what we call as alleles. So traits are controlled by alleles. So actually one trait is controlled by one allele. So here got allele and here also have allele. So allele controls the trait. So this is the most basic of the chapter. What is characteristic? What is trait? What is gene? What is allele? In Malay we say allele. Allele adalah bentuk berlainan bagi satu gene. Bentuk berlainan bagi satu gene. Alleles are alternative or different forms of a gene. Different forms of a gene. Gene is one. Allele maybe got 2, maybe got 3, maybe got 4, depends. But all of these different alleles, even got 4 alleles, 4 different alleles, all the allele comes under gene. Gene is like this larger circle is the gene. So this larger circle is the gene. Inside the gene, you have different alleles. Here got one allele, here got one allele, here got one allele. Normally only have 2, sometimes got 3. For our syllabus, I think the maximum we go is 3. So these are three different alleles. Those brown ones are different alleles. But all the alleles comes under gene. Same thing. This large circle is the characteristic. The large circle is the characteristic. But characteristic got different forms. We call them as traits. So every one of these brown circle here represents what we call as trait. So these are traits. Maybe got 3 trait, 4 trait, maybe got 2 trait. Normally it's 2, sometimes 3 can be more than that also. But normally our syllabus we stop at 2 or 3. Characteristic is the larger group. Inside the characteristic we have traits. Maybe 2, maybe 3. Gene is the larger group. Inside the gene you have something called as allele. Now the problem here is there is 2 allele. This is a different allele. This is a different allele. Why different allele? Because they control different trait. How do we show to examiner that these alleles are different? We already know the trait is different because this is red flower, this is pink flower. We know the trait is different. If the trait is different, the allele that control the trait must also be different. So here, what we do is we use alphabet to represent the allele. So normally we use capital A or capital B. You can use any alphabet. Normally we use capital A, or you can either randomly choose. I like to use capital A and small a. Or maybe what you can do, because it's flower, both of them have flower, maybe you can write here capital F. It's your choice. If the question didn't mention, sometimes the question will tell you use this alphabet. If the question didn't mention, you can use any alphabet you like. But make sure you choose alphabet that is different. The capital letter and the small letter is different. For example, if capital F here, then this one we use small f. We must use same alphabet. Or maybe you use capital A, here you use small a. You must use the same alphabet. You can't write capital A here. You write here small b, cannot. Because according to genetic rule, if the gene is same, the alphabet must be same. So I cannot use capital B. If I use small b, that means it's a different gene, not accepted. So I must use small a. Choose alphabets that are different. Don't choose allele capital C, allele small c. Jangan guna macam ini. Because when you are I'm typing. When you are writing, capital C like this, small c like this. Maybe when you're writing, because you're writing fast, maybe you wrote a C that is like this. Now this one, is this capital or small? It can lead to confusion. Maybe you wrote that for capital. The examiner might think this one very small. Maybe this is a small alphabet. Avoid confusion by choosing alphabets that are different. Use capital A, for example. Use capital A, use small a. Cannot make mistake because the alphabet looks different. Don't use alphabet that looks same, like capital C, small c, capital Z, small z, capital O, small o. All of that avoid. But take note, when they ask you a question, they purposely use all of that to make sure you make mistake. They purposely tell you use capital C, small c. They can confuse you. You don't confuse them. You use alphabets that are different. From what I have on the screen now, we have the basics of inheritance, which is what is characteristic, what is trait, what is a gene, what is allele. Basics of biology. Every gene controls a specific, every gene controls a specific characteristic of an organism. Satu markah. Every gene controls a specific characteristic of an organism. Example, gene that controls flower color characteristic. Example, gene that controls flower color characteristic. Sudah dua markah. Where is the gene located? Where is this gene located? They are located in the DNA. We learn later. Nanti kita belajar. Gene controls specific characteristic of an organism. If the question asks you what is characteristic? Observable, measurable, detectable characteristic of an organism. Lagi satu markah. Everything you see on the screen is definition. But characteristic have different forms. Alternative forms. Bentuk berlainan. Characteristic have different forms. We call them traits. Alternative forms of a characteristic. Bentuk berlainan bagi satu karakteristik. Alternative forms of a characteristic is trait. For example, flower color characteristic have a red flower trait and white pink flower trait. Now, I'll change this to white because that is the reason I'm changing this to white, because later the examples we are going to use is red flower and actually we use a purple flower. Okay, so purple flower trait and purple flower trait. Ini saya tukar purple, sorry. Okay, so purple flower trait and white flower trait. So now white I cannot change it, I just leave it as it is. Okay. So example, I repeat, traits are alternative forms of a characteristic. Bentuk berlainan bagi satu karakteristik. For example, flower color characteristic have purple flower trait and white flower trait. Okay. Characteristic is controlled by the gene. What controls the trait? The traits are controlled by alleles. Alleles are alternative forms of a alleles are alternative, the word is this, alternative form of a gene. Bentuk berlainan bagi satu gene. Contoh, now you have car for example. We have maybe Proton car, Pro 2 car, Mercedes car, BMW car, Ferrari car, Lamborghini car, or Porsche car, something. But they all come under one group car. So all of these different brands, Pro 2, Kancil, Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, and onwards, They are alternative forms. Bentuk berlainan bagi kenderaan, for car. Alternative forms of a car. The big group is car. But inside that car, we have BMW car, Mercedes car, and onward. Same thing. The big group is the gene. Inside the gene, we have alleles. Normally, we have only 2 alleles. Biasanya ada 2. Later, we will have more than 2. At the moment, we have only 2. Because we have only 2, one of them you label capital A or any other alphabet you like. The other one you label a small letter. So normally I use capital A, small a. You can use any other alphabet, but avoid alphabets that are same. This is the first definition. So let's go to the definition. We go straight to gene. Okay, so we go straight to this. Every gene controls a specific characteristic of an organism. Every gene controls a specific characteristic of an organism. Example, gene that controls type of hair for human and height of a human. Or the example I'm giving you, gene that controls flower color of a plant. Gene that controls flower color of a plant. You can make that garden pea plant. Okay, why garden pea plant? After this, you'll understand. So another example is flower color of garden pea plant. Gene that controls flower color of garden pea plant. Anything, you can use animal, you can use plant, your choice. So all of this, yang ini semua you will learn later. All of this later you learn. At the moment, what you know, gene controls characteristic. But gene got different forms. The different forms are known as alleles. So that's the next one. Alleles are alternative forms of a gene. Alternative forms of a gene, and should have a word here. Okay, example for gene controlling type of hair of a person. One allele determines curly hair, another allele determines straight hair. I think I missed. I should have a word. Okay, I'll add in here. So by right, alleles are alternative forms of a gene. Another sentence that you need here is each allele. Wonder how I missed it. Each allele Now you complete this sentence for me. Each allele controls what? Each allele controls what? Because the gene controls the characteristic. The allele controls what? Something starting with T. Gene controls characteristics. Allele controls trait. Specific traits of a gene. No, specific trait of a characteristic. I should add that into the notes. So this is another 1 mark. Each allele controls a specific trait of a characteristic. So this long explanation so far is for you to understand what is a gene, what is an allele, what is a characteristic, what is trait. The trait and characteristic we didn't define, but make sure you know the difference. What is characteristic, what is trait? Characteristic is observable, detectable, measurable characteristic of an organism. Later we'll define. So at the moment, basics of this chapter. Apa itu gene, apa itu allele, apa itu characteristic, apa itu trait. We are going to go to the next step. This is the basic. I want to make sure before we start our journey, you know what is gene, characteristic, trait, allele. Once you know that, then the rest of the explanation becomes a bit more easy. Any question before I continue? Any question before I continue? Okay, what you see now is known as a karyotype. Ini kita panggil karyotype. Okay, what is a karyotype? So this is we call a karyotype. So this is karyotype. Okay, the word karyote, the word karyo means nucleus. Eukaryote, prokaryote, semester 1. Eukaryote, through nucleus. Prokaryote, before nucleus. I already told you last time what is karyote. Semester 1. Karyotype means you can take any cell, but normally the picture is for a human. We take a human cell, we remove all the chromosome from the human cell. We remove all the chromosome. We arrange them according to size. A few things, according to size, according to the band, according to the position of centromere. This is centromere. If you see this part here, okay, here, okay, this orange color that you see here, you can see this orange color. That is supposed to be the centromere. What is the centromere? In mitosis, meiosis, if you draw the chromosome, you draw the chromosome like this. You draw the chromosome like this, but in the center, you will have a circular shape structure. That is a centromere. This is known as a centromere. This one is known as a centromere. This red one, we call it as a centromere. So this is bands on the chromosome. These are bands on the chromosome. You can see lines on the chromosome. We call them bands, maybe like this. So based on the length, panjang chromosome, based on the length, based on the position of the centromere, because the centromere may be located at this might be located at the top, might be at the bottom, a middle, or might be at the bottom, might be at the tip. The centromere can be in many places. Based on the location of centromere, based on the length of the chromosome, based on the pattern of bands. But the main thing is based on the length, panjang. We take out all the chromosome, 46 chromosome, we arrange them according to size. From the longest to the shortest, when you do that, you get what we call as a karyotype. This is how it looks like. This is the longest chromosome. The chromosome always a pair. The chromosome always one pair. Why always one pair? One of it is maternal chromosome. One of it is a maternal chromosome. Let me just copy paste this. Okay, one of the chromosome will be maternal. Use maybe red color for maternal. So maternal means it came from the mother or from the female parent. Like for humans, it's basically from the mother. The other chromosome is paternal. Paternal came from the father. Always we have two chromosomes. For if you take the longest one will have two. because it's bending, they don't look like same size, but they're actually same length. One is maternal, it came from the ovum. One is paternal, it came from sperm. So the paternal came from the sperm, the maternal came from ovum. These two chromosomes that is same size, the two chromosomes that is same size, we call homologous chromosome pair. This is known as homologous chromosome pair. And this is homologous chromosome pair number 1. We have homologous chromosome pair number 2, number 3, 4, 5, until you have number 22. So our cell has 22 homologous chromosome pair. Ada 22 homologous chromosome pair, or 22. What happened to the last one? The last one is known as the sex chromosome pair. The last one is known as sex chromosome pair because that two chromosome determines the gender of the human. For the moment, the last one is sex chromosome pair. Oh, it's wrong place. Sex chromosome is here. Okay. We have 22 homologous chromosome pair. The last pair is the sex chromosome pair. It decides whether you are a male or a female. By now you should know, if you're XX, you are a female. If you're XY, you are a male. The Y chromosome is always shorter. Already learned in Form 5. So that means inside the karyotype, there is 23 pairs. 23 pasang, 23 pairs. But out of that 23 pairs, the last pair is the sex chromosome pair. The last pair, sex chromosome pair, because they determine gender. They decide the human is male or female. The other 22 pairs, they become what we call as autonomous chromosomes. The other 44, 22 pairs, ada 22 pasang. 22 pasang means 44. We have 44 autonomous chromosomes. Why autonomous? Because they don't decide the gender. 2 sex chromosome, 2 sex chromosome, 46 autonomous chromosome. I can put this here. So the karyotype, human karyotype, will have 44 not autonomous, autosomal. 44 autosomal chromosome and 2 sex chromosome. So total become 46. 44 autosomal chromosome, 2 sex chromosome. So I use purple color. 2 sex chromosome, 44 autosomal chromosomes. All of that will be inside human karyotype. But that 44 plus 2, we arrange from the longest to the shortest. That is why you get this arrangement. So this is known as a karyotype, human karyotype. What I'm going to draw now is a pair of homologous chromosomes. Any one of this. Maybe I take the pair number 1, I'm going to draw. Before I continue, any question about karyotype? Any question about karyotype? See whether I can make this larger. Yeah, total 46. We are human. Human 46 chromosome. Human 46. Other species, different number. Other species, no need to know. What we have, you must know. We humans, total 46. Out of the 46, 44 is autosomal. Which 44? All of this. Until the number, and all of this until number 22. Only the last one is the sex chromosome pair. So 44 plus 2. Why you call sex chromosome pair? They determine your gender. Tentukan jantina. The other 44, they don't decide your gender. They have other function. We'll explain more later. At the moment, the human karyotype has 46 chromosomes, of which 44 is autosomal, 2 is sex chromosome. When we arrange the chromosome, we arrange from the longest pair to the shortest pair. Every pair is a homologous chromosome pair. Every homologous chromosome pair, why got two same size? One is a maternal chromosome. One is a maternal chromosome. One is maternal chromosome. Another one is paternal chromosome. Where did the paternal chromosome come from? It came from the sperm, from the father. Where did the maternal chromosome come from? It came from ovum, from the mother. So that means you have 46 chromosomes. Out of that 46, 23 came from your father, 23 came from your mother. You have 46 chromosomes. 23 is maternal chromosome, 23 is paternal chromosome. That is why you have some characteristic like your father. Maybe your type of hair follow father. Maybe your eye color follow mother. Maybe your blood group follow mother. Maybe your skin color follow father. Because you got 23 chromosome from father, 23 chromosome from mother. You get your half father, half mother like that. We'll explain further. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a pair of homologous chromosomes. I'm going to draw a pair of homologous chromosomes. So this is a pair of homologous chromosomes. So this is one chromosome. And by right, somewhere in the middle, they'll have a centromere. So this circle is the centromere. This is the centromere. And what I'm writing inside now is the what I'm writing inside now is the allele. This is the allele. So this is, let's say, capital A allele. Let's say this one capital B allele. I can also have, let's say I can put A here. I can put B here. Maybe I can put C. All of these are different alleles. Don't want to use C. So I'll use D. Maybe different color also, blue color. Okay, so let's say these are all different alleles in one chromosome. So this could be a maternal chromosome. So ini mungkin maternal. I also need to have a paternal chromosome. So now let's draw a paternal chromosome. So this is a maternal chromosome. This is maternal. Now, I also need a paternal chromosome. Now, paternal chromosome is coming from the father. Because it's coming from the father, it might have same allele or different allele. Just because, let's say, capital A controls curly hair, for example. Capital A controls curly hair. Maybe mother curly hair. Father maybe straight hair. If father is straight hair will have a different allele. Father might have small a. Father might have, or maybe everything is different. Father's characteristic, mother's characteristic, different. So this is a pair of homologous chromosomes. This is a pair of homologous chromosomes. One is paternal, one is maternal. The allele inside, the place where the allele is located. The place where, let's say, for example, this one, this A here, I color the place where it's located. So this area. This is where this allele is located. So the place where the allele is located, the place where the allele is located is known as a locus. The place where an allele is located or the gene is located, the gene here is same. This area have the same gene. Gene sum. Let's say for example, this area have gene for type of hair. If here you have gene for type of hair, this one also must be gene for type of hair. Why must be same? Because it's the same locus. Because the locus is same. Now locus is singular. Plural is loci. Kalau satu locus, kalau lebih dari satu kita panggil loci. Because this place and this place is same loci, they must have the same gene. Maybe this area I'm coloring now. This is a different loci. This is a different loci. In the same loci, they must have the same gene. For example, maybe this is gene for eye color. Maybe this is gene, this is type of hair. I change it to red. So this one also must be gene for type of hair, this side. If this is gene for eye color, you tell me what is the gene here. Gene for eye color. Why? Same gene. Because it's the same loci. This is same loci, this is same loci, this is same loci. If the loci is same, the gene must be same. These two is homologous chromosome pair. This is homologous chromosome pair. Every homologous chromosome pair, one maternal, one paternal. Maternal chromosome have allele. Paternal chromosome also have allele. Alleles are part of gene. The gene is same. Both of them gene for type of hair. Both of them gene for eye color. Gene is same, but allele is different. Maybe mother curly hair, father straight hair. Maybe mother brown eye, father blue eye, who knows? Whether this is same or different, allele, same or different, we don't know. It depends on what you inherit. Gene conform some. Gene must be same. Allele, same or not, we don't know. What are the possibilities? What are the possibilities? Possibilities is maybe that person receive. Possibilities is maybe that person receive both capital. Let's say I take gene for type of hair. So gene for type of hair, capital A, allele for curly hair trait. So capital A is allele for curly hair trait. Small a is allele for straight hair trait. This is the standard example we always give in class. So capital A is straight hair, small a. Why am I using capital A? No, why I didn't use capital A for straight? Why I didn't use small a for curly? Later you'll understand. For the moment, capital A is for curly, small a is for straight. A human must receive 2 allele. Why must receive 2 allele? Because you have 2 locus. Same loci because 2 locus. Locus ada 2, tapi locus singular. 2 locus. Plural is loci. So every person for one gene, we will inherit 2 allele. But what is the allele? Don't know. Maybe the allele is capital A, capital A. If someone is capital A, that person will have curly hair trait. Why curly hair? Because he only has capital A, capital A. If someone is capital A, no, sorry, small a, confirm this person is straight hair. Maybe for straight hair, I use different color. Okay. So this is for straight hair. So this one is straight hair. Now the problem is, if someone is capital A, small a. If I'm explaining this to the Form 5 students, first time they are seeing this, they might not know. But you must know, as long as you have a capital A, it's a dominant allele. Small a is a recessive allele. This person will be curly hair. Now, all of these that you see on this side, all of these that you're seeing on this side, the one I'm coloring in red, capital A, capital A, capital A, small a, small a, small a, all of these are known as the genotype. Ini kita panggil genotype. I'm running out of colors. Okay, great. This is known as genotype. Capital A is a genotype. Capital A is a genotype. Small a is a genotype. Capital A, small a is a genotype. But genotype controls phenotype. Phenotype is what you can observe. Curly hair or straight hair, phenotype. Take note, sometimes the genotype is different. Capital A, small a. Genotype different, but the phenotype is same. Genotype is genetic contents. Genotype is genetic contents. What allele that person has. So this person genotype is capital A, capital A. What allele that person have? A genotype. What trait that person have? Phenotype. Take note, whether I have curly hair or straight hair. Phenotype, curly hair, straight hair. It is controlled by my genotype. What allele I have? What allele I inherited from my parent? Because I have curly hair, I'm either this or this. Now, if the alleles are same, if the alleles are same, both alleles are same, capital A, same, small a, same. You call this homo. Homo means same, homozygous. Homozygous means the alleles are same. Change this to brown color. If alleles are same, homozygous. If the alleles are different, you call them heterozygous. Hetero means different. Homo means same. Presence of same type of alleles for a gene. Presence of same type of allele for one gene or many genes. Later you learn many gene also. Maybe later you'll have like this. Capital small a, capital B. Example. This is homozygous, this is homozygous. So this whole thing homozygous. But let's say capital A, small a, capital B, small b. This allele is different, so they become heterozygous. If homozygous, we call them purebred. Baka tule in Malay, in English, purebred. If you read a question, it's a pure breeding organism. When you see the word pure breeding organism, or they mention it's a pure breed, that means the allele is same. If the alleles are different, you call them hybrid. You call them carrier. Why carrier? They carry small a allele. They carry the small a allele, but they don't have straight hair. Small a is for straight hair. They carry the allele, they don't use it. They are just carrying it, they are not using it. Because they have curly hair. Curly hair is controlled by capital A. So in here, what I have explained to you so far, what is maternal, what is paternal, where the genes are located. If it's the same loci, must have the same gene. Whether they have the same allele, we don't know. That depends on what you inherit. If you inherit both same allele, you are a purebred. You are homozygous. If you inherit different alleles, then you are heterozygous, you are a hybrid, you are a carrier. The last thing I need to explain to you is, but before I go to the last explanation, now we are finishing off all the definitions. Characteristic, trait, gene, allele, genotype, phenotype, homozygous, heterozygous, purebred, hybrid, locus, loci, maternal, paternal. I'm giving you a lot of definitions. In one explanation, I'm giving you all the definitions that you need to know. But we are left with one more. dominant allele, recessive allele. So bila ada dua allele, this one. When you have two different alleles, capital A. Why do I use capital A? Because this is a dominant allele. It's a dominant allele. Why do I use small a? Because this is a recessive allele. How do you determine whether it's dominant or recessive? We need to do some experiments to find out. Like for type of hair, we know. Through experiments, we know. Curly is dominant, straight is recessive. We already do the experiment, we know. For garden pea plant, purple flower dominant, white flower recessive, we know. It will be in the list later. But if you find a new characteristic, you want to know which is dominant, we have to do some experiments. Later, we'll explain. How do you define a dominant allele? A dominant allele will be expressed. The word express is a scientific term for its functions. But don't write the word functions. I'm just explaining to you. The word express means the allele function, whatever they control, you can see. That means if the allele is expressed, the trait is observed. The trait is observed. If it's a dominant allele, the allele will be expressed. Meaning you can see the trait. If someone have capital A, that person will be curly hair. If he has capital A, that person will be curly hair. It will be expressed. So kalau boleh express, if can be expressed, we call it dominant allele. Recessive allele can be suppressed. What it means is the dominant allele can suppress the recessive allele. Can suppress the recessive allele, meaning as long as dominant allele is present, selagi ada dominant allele, recessive allele will be suppressed. The recessive allele cannot function. That is why here you see capital A, small a. That person have small a. But this small a allele is suppressed by the capital A allele. Because the capital A allele is the dominant allele. Dominant allele can suppress the recessive allele. Whatever that is controlled by the recessive allele, the trait cannot be observed. The trait controlled by the recessive allele cannot be observed if hetero. If heterozygous, they have both. Dominant also have, recessive also have. In heterozygous, what happens? You only see the trait controlled by the dominant allele. Because the trait controlled by the dominant allele is expressed. You don't see the trait of the recessive allele because the recessive allele is suppressed. You cannot see straight hair if someone is heterozygous. Normally, I take one class to finish off all the definitions. The definitions are important. The first class will be explaining all the definitions. Only then in the next class, we can start with Mendel's first law. So next week, we'll start with Mendel's first law. This week is all about definitions. If I go back to my notes, gametes are basically reproductive cells. It's either sperm or ovum. They were produced by meiosis, cell division. They have haploid set of chromosome, means for humans is 23 chromosomes. Kalau manusia is 23 chromosome. Different species, different number. For humans is 23 chromosome. That is the meaning of haploid set. Haploid means one set. The 23 might be maternal, might be paternal. The sperm have 23 paternal, the ovum have 23 maternal. Sperm is haploid, ovum is haploid. When the sperm and ovum do fertilization, we get zygote. Zygote is diploid because they have 46 chromosomes. For a human, 46 chromosomes. 46 is 2 sets. Why 2 sets? Because there is one maternal set and one paternal set. Sperm gave the paternal 23, ovum gave 23 maternal. So inside zygote got 46. One maternal set, one paternal set. That is why we call diploid set. Diploid because they have 2 sets. Gene. You already know the last 2. A gene is located in a particular position on a particular chromosome. That one, at the moment you understand, the gene is in a specific location we call locus. If it's one, more than one loci, the rest of it later you'll understand. What I underline at the moment, I already explained, the others not yet, later. Alleles are alternative forms of a gene. Each allele controls a specific trait of a characteristic. Alleles of a gene are located on a specific relative genetic locus on a pair of homologous chromosomes. So this is a locus, this is a locus. This is a locus, this is a locus. Different locus. Different locus will have different gene. You got this from your father. Maybe this is paternal. You got this from your mother. So this is maternal. You always have 2 alleles. For one gene, you have 2 alleles, one from mother, one from father. That is the meaning of this word. A single allele for each locus is inherited separately from each parent. One allele from one parent, another allele from another parent. You have 2 alleles. At any one time, only 2 alleles can occupy the 2 locus. At any one time, you can only have 2 alleles because only got 2 locus. Because there's only 2 locus on homologous chromosome pair. The last one is the example of gene. Example of gene, example of trait. Dominant and recessive allele. Allele dominant if it's expressed the trait it controls in homozygote, heterozygote. Doesn't matter whether it's homo or hetero, dominant allele will function. Recessive allele only function if homo. Recessive allele only functions if it's homozygous. Dominant allele function homozygous and heterozygous. Both they function. That is what we have here. Allele dominant, express, homozygote, heterozygote. Allele recessive, express only in homozygote. Hetero tak boleh. Dominant allele, capital letter. Recessive allele, small letter of the same alphabet. These are examples of allele. These are examples of all the different combination. Earlier I already gave. Homozygote. Organism genotype, 2 identical allele for one or more gene. Homozygote are purebreds. They have 2 identical alleles at a given locus. Homozygous dominant if 2 dominant alleles. Homozygous recessive if 2 recessive alleles. Heterozygote. Organism genotype, 2 different alleles for one or more gene. They are known as hybrid. They are known as carriers of the recessive allele. The next page, all of this definition already give. The third page, phenotype. Detectable, measurable, observable trait of an organism. Whatever phenotype you have, I have curly hair. That's because my allele is expressed, my gene is expressed. We get phenotype by express of gene. The gene functions. The allele functions. I get curly hair. Another person, the allele function, she got straight hair. Or he got straight hair. This next sentence will explain later. Later you'll understand. Genotype is a genetic constitution of an organism. Capital A, genotype, capital A, genotype, small a, genotype. Filial generation will be explained next week when we learn Mendel's inheritance. Today is all about definition. So if you see, when you receive the notes, chapter 17, first page, second page, third page, done. One class just to give you all the definitions. And these pictures here is what I used to explain. Mainly this one is the first picture I used to make sure you know what is gene, what is characteristic, what is trait, what is allele. This diagram. After you know that, what is homozygous? What is sex chromosome? What is autosomal chromosome? What is homologous chromosome pair? What is karyotype? We use this diagram. Once you know karyotype, I explain arrangement of gene in a chromosome. Arrangement of gene in a chromosome. Once you know the arrangement of gene, arrangement of allele, we explain the meaning of dominant, recessive, homozygous, heterozygous, genotype, phenotype. Basics done. Any question? Ada soalan? Any question? You should realize I enjoy this kind of chapters, or I enjoy teaching. I don't realize the time passing by. It's very technical, very logical. If you understand, can get full marks easily, like maths, full marks easily. Any question? Ada soalan?